man hating harms women.
Do you know what's helped me make peace with the current dating?
When are women going to learn that they make dating and relationships a lot more difficult than they have to be?
Why men are staying single.
Men are a lot more passive in my experience.
There's a new dating skill nobody had 10 years ago, and it's rewriting how an entire generation approaches relationships. It's not charm. It's not confidence. It's pattern recognition, and both men and women are using it on each other now, whether they realize it or not.
So I had this fucked up thought that I feel like the dating world is going to be going to, besides the fact that I think women are not going to be dating anymore and or getting divorces and just decentering men altogether, which go you should absolutely be doing that. But I feel like if they are with a man, and what's going to be happening is that they're going to be checking their phone to see if they're a pedophile and not if they're cheating. Like, it's going to get to that point where they're going to be like, okay, I'm checking his phone. I just want to make sure, like, it's fine if he's cheating. Like, I'll be happier if he's cheating than if he's a pedophile. But maybe it's, like, a subconscious thing, so they're checking it, and they'll be like, oh, thank God, he's just cheating. I didn't find out, like, he's some sick pedophile who's molesting my children or, like, distributing CSAM all over the internet. Like, I feel like that's where it's going to be going to, because the majority, and I feel like the more cases come out that these men are all pedophiles and they're all part of sex trafficking and all part of this system that patriarchy has created to literally protect the abuser. I feel like that's what women are going to be doing. They're going to start thinking like, oh, like, have I been feeling red flags? And then they're going to start questioning, like, their man's behavior, and they're going to start going back on, like, things that he's done, and then they're going to be like, oh, man, like, that could probably be him. That sounds a lot like my husband. That sounds a lot like my pastor. That sounds a lot like my daughter's swim coach, you know? And these ladies that are dating these men are going to be, like, checking their phone just to see if they are a pedophile, not if they're cheating. What do you think?
You've probably seen the videos, red flags to watch for, love bombing explained, signs his future faking you. This content is everywhere right now. But what's actually driving it, and is it making dating better, or just more paranoid?
For all the women of God, here are 3 traps that you need to absolutely stay away from as you get ready to enter 2026. Number 1, idolizing a relationship more than God's purpose for your life. Remember, Isaiah 60:22, it says, at the right time, I, the Lord, will make it happen. God's timing is perfect. He does not rush his promises. If he said he'll do it at the right time. It's a man's job to find you. The devil will have you thinking that you need a relationship so that you can be fulfilled, which then leads you get into a relationship that God never intended you to be in. So remember that you are the bride of Christ first. Let the Lord satisfy you. God is not going to put a man in your life that's going to pull you away from him. God knows a wolf in sheep's clothing. The Lord always got your best intention in mind. Number 2, comparison. When you focused on the things that somebody else has, you'll stop seeing the beauty of what God is doing in your life right now. You don't need to compare your beauty. You don't need to compare your body. You don't need to compare your career or comparing other people's relationships. Remember, comparison is the thief of joy. When you start to compare, you'll start to doubt if God will do that for you, and doubt weakens trust. In whatever area you may feel like you lack, remember 2 Corinthians 12:9, it says, my grace is all you need, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Whenever you may feel like you're weak, remember, God is strong. Number 3, loneliness decisions. Do not let a temporary feeling lead to a permanent mistake. Remember who you are in the Lord. God meets you in quiet seasons. You were placed here for a reason, for a purpose. God sees you at all times. Don't let the devil lie to you and tell you that since you alone, that means that something is wrong with you. God says in Isaiah 43:4 that you are precious to me. You are honored and I love you. So I say all that to remind you, wait patiently for the Lord. Be strong and courageous. God sees you. God loves you. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. And I'm going to be praying over you as you enter into 2026.
Start with the vocabulary shift. Therapist speak has gone completely mainstream. Terms like boundaries, attachment styles, and trauma responses are now everyday dating vocabulary for singles in 2026. People aren't just dating anymore, they're diagnosing.
women are scared that men will kill them. Yeah. Yes, okay, there's the money discussion, which we might not all agree on, but there's the abusiveness that is terrifying.
I don't sympathize for men at all. The
Really?
world is built for them to protect us. How are we the one supposed to be protected by these people that might, how do I say? I don't want to like say the trigger warning that might actually hang you if you don't agree with them. Men kill women all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like,
What's that quote?
Oh yeah, the Margaret Atwood quote, which I just think is so
Love that
true.
quote.
Men are scared that women will laugh at them. Women are scared that men will kill them.
yeah. So
There we go.
why are we even protecting these monsters
Yeah.
that we're supposed to actually sleep with them and next to them and feel safe?
Yeah.
I don't sympathize for men at all. I feel like the world is created by them, for them.
And the behaviors people are watching for have gotten specific. One 2026 survey found 61% of singles call it a major red flag if someone requests a Venmo payment after a date without discussing it first, and 63% say repeatedly bringing up an ex ends the date on the spot. That's not vague vibes, that's a checklist.
Men are a lot more passive in my experience. They're a lot more passive. They're looking for why?
Yeah, why and how? Maybe
Oh,
it's a better
how?
question. Yeah.
How?
Jail.
One,
Word.
like I said, they don't take initiative. Like gone are the days where a man will be like, "Hey, I think you're beautiful. I wanna get to know you."
Courting.
I'm planning. Yeah, courting. They don't court anymore, right? That's number one.
Because they don't want to go.
Yeah.
To court.
Number two, this is so goofy. What am I even trying to say, bro?
I'm just saying. It's like court. I don't like that word. I mean, keep it 100. Keep it 100. It's you as an NFL guy, with all the professional athletes getting taken to the fucking bank by some of these women, scallywags, divorcing to get money, getting babies to get money. That leaves a big impression. Like, God, if I see a pretty girl, is she pretty and is she trying to take me, or does she have her own? Like, does she have her own? She isn't about that. It's like what we see on TV it leaves a stain in society. Like,
What you're seeing
I'm
on social
afraid of these women now.
Because I wonder how does that culture change?
Yeah.
Like, and do you feel like the culture has changed so much, like the pendulum has swung so far to one side that it's produced a lot of the passive men? Because I think a lot of men, like, if you come on strong and be like, oh man, he was aggressive, or he's toxic, or he's like, so there's this like, where's the give?
No, it's not black and white. It's not like either you come off strong, you're a man, or you're toxic. Like there's gray areas in all of this, right? There's a right way and a wrong way to do some things. Like you can still come off like, I don't want to say strong. Yeah, you can still come off strong in a way that's not gonna scare off the woman. Like, for example, that first dude who was in my DMs, some can consider that coming off strong, but to me, at least, it wasn't scary. It was like, all right, he gave me an option. Like, do I want to go on a date with him on this day at this place? You know what? I don't got nothing to do
some women
that
would
day.
be like, can you believe he asked me?
But that's everybody is different.
That's
so
what I'm saying.
You
So it's
have to
tough.
figure out who you're talking to, what language she understands, and how to speak her language in order to communicate with her. Like that's part of, honestly, not even just man to woman. That's part of just being a human. Like there's different ways to communicate with someone. So like I could tell that you're a direct, straightforward person. I could go to you and be like, Godfrey, honestly, this haircut is not for you. Try something else. Try something new. And I feel like you wouldn't take that as offense. You'd be like, what you mean? Oh, you know what? I could try a different haircut. And then you try a different haircut. Where I can come to you and maybe you're not as like I don't care. I just want it directly. Let's say you're a little softer. You're like, I'm not liking the bald. And then you could take it as like, oh my gosh, she thinks I'm a bald-headed demon. Like, you could take it some other kind of way. It just, if I know you and I've rapport with you, I understand like, okay, this is how Godfrey communicates. This is how you communicate. And if I know how you communicate, then I know how I'm able to effectively speak your language. Because at the end of the day, a message is only as good as the recipient is able to understand it.
Some of this caution is earned. Romance scam victims reported losing nearly $1.3 billion in 2025 alone, often through love bombing, intense early affection designed to build trust and lower someone's guard fast. When that tactic gets exposed publicly enough times, people start recognizing it in completely normal relationships too, even when nothing's wrong.
What's something you'll get a lot of hate for if you say it out loud?
Men grow up their whole lives being taught how to treat a woman, but never what to expect from one. While women grow up their whole lives being taught what to expect from a man, but never how to treat one. And that imbalance is quietly destroying all modern relationships. Because from a young age, men are taught to open doors, pull out chairs, be patient, be understanding, be accommodating, prioritize her needs, and absorb her complaints. But no one ever teaches him how to set boundaries. No one ever teaches him that his needs, his desires, his emotional safety actually matter too. So he grows up overgiving, overfunctioning, self-abandoning. And when he finally starts to feel that all his efforts are unseen, unappreciated, and most importantly, unreciprocated, when he finally realizes that they are not going to treat him the way that he treats them, he doesn't explode, he goes quiet, he withdraws. When he does this, that withdrawal gets labeled as emotional unavailability, disinterest, as him not caring anymore. So what does she do? She goes and vents to her friends. And what do? They all validate her feelings, tell her she deserves more. And we all know what path that leads to. But what never gets examined, the question that women never seem to ask, what could she do to make things better? What did he need and never received? This is why most relationships get to a point where they are filled with resentment instead of love and attraction. And that's where men stop showing up, not because they don't care, but because caring has cost them too much for too long. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. A man who knows his value stops chasing her approval, stops trying to do anything he can to make her happy. He starts setting his boundaries, his standards, and when he does, this type of dynamic either rises to meet him where he's at, or he will walk away because a toxic relationship like that is far beneath him. And that's not arrogance. It's self-respect and self-care. Something that men have been taught they are not allowed to do for far too long. Stay strong, Kings.
It's also social now, not just personal. Over 40% of single people say their friends directly influence who they date. So if the group chat flags someone, that person may never get a second date, whether the flag was fair or not.
Stop telling women to choose better men. Stop telling women to have better pickers. Stop telling women they just need to have a little more self-respect. Instead, start telling men to stop being such fucking liars and wearing a mask until they have a woman locked down. Here's a few stories about men who wore a mask until they had a woman trapped. My ex wasn't abusive until I got pregnant. We had been together for 9 years before. The wedding night, it was like a switch flipped. I knew him 5 years before getting married. 5 years of him pretending to be someone he wasn't. I married the perfect guy. I was heavily involved in social projects helping the vulnerable, and he was very much a leader in these activities. I thought he had the same heart as me. He was a minister too, such a holy man. All he ended up being was a deeply deceptive person that abuses his wife and children, but no one will ever know as his mask is always intact in the public's eye. I was with my ex for 13 years before we had a child. You'd think he acquired a brain injury after my son was born. All of a sudden, he was incapable of doing the most basic things, but only in our home. 5 years and moving in together, his mask dropped the first week. I thought he was starting psych meds or something because of how suddenly he changed. My daughter's father was the most thoughtful, kind-spoken person I'd ever dated. When I was 3 months postpartum, I found him searching and adding a bunch of OF profiles and other things. My stitches and my body weren't even healed yet. He pressured me to have schmegs when I wasn't ready and chased me around the house while my newborn was in my arms until the neighbors heard me screaming and called security. After marriage and 2 kids and me providing 100% of the household income so he could be a stay-at-home dad, he announced that his orientation was polyamorous and that I was essentially discriminating against him and being bigoted if I didn't agree to an open marriage. I asked if he knew about his orientation before we got married, and he said yes, but that he didn't tell me because he thought I wouldn't understand. My ex pretended to be an angel. He also pretended to agree to my left-wing views. He started being rude, racist, and shared his right-wing views and said the N-word. He told me that he waited for me to be attached until he said racial slurs. Luckily, I left. How about instead of telling women to choose better men, you just tell men to be better?
And underneath all of it, a striking 68% of single Americans say dating apps have made commitment harder, not easier. So people are compensating with more scrutiny earlier, not less.
You know, I see why men are staying single, because look around. We have women out here bragging about not cooking, not cleaning, not taking care of their home, not being soft, and not being supportive. And then expecting a man to show up as a provider, leader, planner, protector, and lover, while giving him absolutely nothing in return. And yes, I will be the one to say it. A home needs a woman who actually enjoys being a woman. A woman who takes pride in making her home feel warm and peaceful. A woman who loves her man in the same way that she wants to be loved. That is not oppression, that is care. Men are tired of being treated like a walking wallet. Tired of disrespect. Tired of begging for affection and a little peace. So, they are choosing to stay single, not because they hate women, but because they are looking for a woman that values her role just as much as his. And honestly, I don't blame them, because relationships only work when both people show up and give.
The main problem is parents aren't raising girls to be wives. Men are staying single because so many women want a husband but don't want the work that comes with a real relationship. Marriage used to mean partnership, not convenience.
Why successful men stay single? It's often the same mechanism that makes men savage in the workplace that also makes them extremely intelligent when it comes to women. For example, successful men know how to sniff out desperation and entitlement. Most women want their lifestyle, not them, so they become experts at sniffing that shit. They don't settle for.
When are women going to learn that they make dating and relationships a lot more difficult than they have to be, because you are expecting your significant other, your boyfriend, your husband, your situationship, whoever it is that you're dealing with, you expect that man to be so in tune with your emotions, and they're oftentimes emotions that you don't even understand. Let me explain. A lot of women ruin relationships because they expect these men to come home after like a 12, 14, 16-hour day and sit down and kind of have like this HR conversation about your feelings and your emotions and all of the highs and lows of your emotions throughout the day. And when he doesn't connect with you in that way, now he's emotionally unintelligent. It is an unrealistic expectation that women set on men where they want these men to talk to them like they would their female friends. They want them to have these like high emotional conversation and in-depth conversations every step of the way throughout the day. And when he can't because he's actually busy, or when he only wants to have like a surface level conversation because he's exhausted, now you guys want to be dismissive. You want to say that he is emotionally abusive. You want to say that he isn't interested in you, or that he doesn't like you because he doesn't care about your emotions. But sometimes that man has his own emotions that he can't express, because if he does express them, now you view him as less masculine and weak. It's an unrealistic expectation that you are expecting a male, masculine, like strong, abled, providing man to sit down and talk about your emotions every single day. Not only that, is when you get into arguments, it suddenly becomes like therapy talk where you're talking about my boundaries, my emotional space, my peace. Like, you guys love to use all of these therapy words, and half the time you don't even know what they mean. They just sound good. And at the same time, you expect these men to open up to you, but when they open up to you, now he's trauma dumping, or, he's weak and he's less than. And it doesn't make any sense, because what you really want is someone to understand your emotions while not understanding them yourself. So by default, you're setting these men up for failure without even knowing it. And because you expect these men to show up like women in relationships, it leads me to believe that a lot of women might need to just start dating each other. Okay, bye.
Here's the part worth sitting with. This isn't one gender outsmarting the other. Men are learning to spot manipulation and inconsistency faster, but women are doing the exact same thing, watching for men who avoid labels, love bomb, or perform a relationship for social media instead of actually being in one. Everyone's pattern matching now. Nobody's exempt from being screened.
Man hating harms women and benefits the guys who actually deserve to be hated. The more we lower our standards for men, the more mistreatment we normalize. You ever heard the saying, an amazing man is just an average woman? It's because of the contrast in standards we hold to men and women. Most women who hate men have been hurt, and some do it to sabotage other women. But we don't realize that there are guys who participate in man-hating for their own benefit. If a guy speaks negatively about men, specifically one that you're seeing, it's a trap. Just be like, oh really? Like, that's not my experience. I've dated good men. Watch the disappointment on their face, because they want you to hate men. They want you to put them on a pedestal so you think that they're the only good option. I made a video years ago about how some guys minimize their bad behavior by comparing themselves to worse behavior.
At least I never assaulted you. Like, that makes you some hero. And at the end, they want us to be like, oh, thank you for not abusing me even worse.
Yo, the relevance this will always have. By their logic, we should be grateful after any mistreatment because, well, somebody's always done worse. Now, I am very grateful to the real men in my life that prove that good men do exist. And if you don't have good examples, find one, because good examples reveal bad examples. Don't accept disrespect from somebody just because you think that's your best bet. They will try to convince you that it is. It's not. If you keep believing that men are trash and all men cheat, you're more likely to tolerate guys who prove that belief and accept less than you deserve. If somebody wrongs you, hate the individual by all means, but don't punish an entire demographic based on the actions of some. And remember, don't let the losers out there ruin your perception of men. They can't represent something they failed to become.
The honest read isn't one side finally figured out the other side's tricks. It's that dating got more transparent and more guarded at the same time, for everyone.
Do you know what's helped me make peace with the current dating climate in 2026? It's understanding that most relationship dynamics involving men are basically a bunch of traps that are set. Like, we are the prey because we have something that benefits them. And if they set the right trap for us, then we won't, even if it's like a loose trap, we really won't try to get out. So it's more of a psychological trap that we convince ourselves that we must stay because. And that's not to say that there isn't also a very physical trap, as has been discussed by, I would say, other people who critique or have opinions about the women who come online and talk about how awful the men in their lives are, and everyone's saying leave them, and people are saying don't bully those women. It's victim blaming because they are in very real traps that they cannot get out of. Now, I would say that men fall into a spectrum of setting traps. Some of them are fully aware of the trap. They kind of have a profile of their prey, and they just keep trying until something gets stuck psychologically or literally. There are some that just have subscribed to how patriarchy works, and so they're very much into the performative male in how to trap a woman, but not into the co-authorship of partnership that would allow them to sustain a long-lasting, healthy relationship of any relationship orientation. Some are professional victims, and they will leverage some kind of a crisis after love bombing you to get you to give them money or let them stay at your place or even get married. Some will create the illusion that they're the greatest provider ever while living in mountains of credit card debt, as I have seen happen. Almost all of them across the board have often set schmexually coercive traps to be able to get various favors schmexually from women, though it's not always just schmex in of itself. I met a friend many moons ago who always went out with the sketchiest characters ever. And because they would, love bomb her and spit this game at her, she would fall for it. She was almost trafficked out in the Inland Empire because he invited her to a party and then wanted her to do drugs and then introduced her to a woman, and that woman was asking her a lot of questions about her escapades with other men. She had to then maneuver her way out of this situation because it was clear it was not a safe one. Strange men will try to trap you in conversation if you're at a bar alone, if you're at the gym, with all these interrogating just by interrogating. What is your name? What do you do for work? Do you live far from here? Do you live alone? How many siblings do you have? Do you work out? What do you like to eat? Like, every investigation is a part of the trap. Again, whether it's psychological or physical or both. Men typically do not ask questions, in my experience, because there's just a curiosity about how women's brains work. The default setting for many of them is that we actually are not as smart as them, not as good as them, not as capable of that as they are. And so the ones that do ask questions, and the women project why they ask questions. Women ask questions to see if we have a good partner, somebody who we can grow with a lot of the times. And so women will ask these questions looking for compatibility. Men are asking questions to see what they can get from you because they kind of already know. But the beautiful part of acknowledging that most of these encounters with men are traps, you kind of just accept, okay, do I want to do this cat mouse game today? Do I want to test them to see if they're a trap setter? Or do I just want to go home and face mask and order a munchie box from Jack in the Box today? And I was reminded of this TED Talk that the illusionist David Blaine, where he was trying to beat the world record for holding your breath underwater. And if you watch that TED Talk, and I highly recommend it, he first tries to figure out how to create the illusion, the performance of holding your breath. And the performance took so much of a toll on his physical body and on his psychological well-being, because there was all of these techniques that he was using as shortcuts that were painful, that were not producing the results, that eventually he had to just succumb to the fact that he was going to have to learn how to hold his breath, and that he might as well learn from the best of the best. And so he exhausted all the rest of these performative illusions that were very taxing, and he just decided to take this risk as is. And I feel like that is the awakening, and I might reach another level of awakening later. That's the awakening that I'm in now. And I think sometimes I've been around women who don't want to hear that I have given up on the performance of long-term monogamous relationships because they think that I'm bitter or sad or resentful. And it couldn't be further from the truth. I have accepted through a lot of field data, as well as looking at what's going on out there in the world and the climate that men are in right now that's recognized on a national level. And I said, okay, there's going to be a risk no matter what, but I'd rather face that risk rooted in reality and on my terms, in the hopes that I may get what I actually want at certain points, but also fully aware of the terrifying risk that no matter what I do, if I continue to engage with men, it ain't safe. It ain't safe. Do with that information what you will.
So maybe the real 2026 dating skill isn't spotting red flags in other people. It's knowing which ones are actually deal breakers, and which ones are just normal human messiness getting mislabeled as a trap. What's a red flag you think gets overused? Let me know below.
Men stopped playing by the rules, and now everyone's freaking out. Let's break down why silence has become the loudest